When we think about ancient Indian empires, we usually picture massive armies, legendary kings, and the construction of these magnificent stone temples. And, well, while the Chalukyas certainly had all of those things, that traditional view completely misses the bigger picture. In this explainer, we're going to look at the Chalukyas not just as a dynasty of conquerors, but as an ancient, highly sophisticated, multinational trade empire. We're talking about a civilization that built a global supply chain centuries before the concept of modern corporate logistics even existed.
So who actually called the shots in ancient global trade? It's a question that challenges everything we learn in standard history classes. We always hear about the Roman Empire or the Silk Road as the ultimate hubs of ancient commerce. But as we dig into the source material today, you're going to see that a massive portion of global wealth was actually being directed, protected, and monopolized by Indian kingdoms who absolutely mastered the oceans and inland highways.
Okay, let's dive right into our roadmap for this explainer. Think of this almost like a corporate prospectus. We're going to cover 1, their status as an economic powerhouse, 2, infrastructure and currency, 3, the global luxury trade, 4, the legendary Ayavole Merchant Guild, and 5, naval power and defense. Part 1, an ancient economic powerhouse. Our story kicks off with a formidable dynasty that ruled vast parts of southern and central India from the 6th right up to the 12th century. And looking at historical journals and source documents like this one, it reveals that the Badami Chalukyas acted as these incredibly shrewd, strategic tycoons. Because of their seriously advantageous geographic location, they essentially functioned as a massive commercial bridge. They linked the markets of northern and southern India together, and then they connected that entire domestic network outward to the rest of the world. They weren't just participating in trade, they were actively facilitating the whole shebang. Moving on to part 2. Infrastructure and standardized currency. Look, you simply can't run a global trade empire on ambition alone. Check out these key points. They read exactly like a modern corporate logistics network. First off, they used decentralized local autonomy. That basically meant local rulers could manage their own microeconomies, just as long as they answered to the central authority. Second, they minted standardized copper and gold currency. This acted as a highly stable medium of exchange, functioning a lot like a global reserve currency does today. Third, they meticulously maintained extensive inland highway networks to move goods from the interior straight to the coast. And finally, they secured these highly strategic western coastal ports, places like Goa and Mangalore, to ship all those goods overseas. Section 3. The global luxury trade. So what exactly was moving through this massive supply chain? Well, this breakdown brilliantly illustrates the sheer scale and sophistication of their market. On the export side, we see highly sought-after spices, incredibly fine cotton fabrics, precious stones, ivory, and meticulously crafted metalware. These were the absolute premium goods leaving India for places like Persia, Southeast Asia, and the Roman world. And coming back in, we see Arabian horses, Chinese silk, exotic perfumes, and foreign luxury goods. It was this perfectly balanced ledger of high-value commodities that brought immense, truly staggering wealth, pouring right back into the Chalukyan state. Part 4. The Ayavole Merchant Guild. To manage a market this wildly complex, the kings relied on specialized corporate partnerships. These syndicates were known as shrenis. And you really have to understand, we're not talking about a loose group of guys selling wares in a local bazaar. Not even close. These were mega corporations. They enjoyed direct royal sponsorship, they preserved super strict quality standards for goods, they regulated market prices so they wouldn't crash, and they even functioned as banks that took deposits and issued loans. They were literally the economic engines of the entire empire. And among all these powerful shrenis, there was one number that commanded absolute, unquestioned respect and authority across the ancient oceans: 500. Now, what is just so interesting here is the sheer, unadulterated confidence of this statement. This is a direct declaration from the legendary 500 lords of Ayavole. Originally starting out in Karnataka, they grew into this massive, itinerant, international trade syndicate. They were famous for their daring, enterprising reputation, they moved vast caravans of luxury goods, and they wielded immense power, not just in India, but stretching all the way across Southeast Asia, reaching places as far as Sumatra in Myanmar. The 500 operated under a system called the Vira Balanja Dharma. This translates roughly to the law of the heroic or noble merchants. They even flew a flag featuring a bull, which was a clear symbol of their strength. And this strict code of conduct was just brilliant because it acted as the ultimate networking and trust tool. Whether a merchant was from Karnataka, Andhra, or Tamil Nadu, if they followed the Veera Belunja Dharma, they were instantly trusted as a trading partner. It completely unified diverse traders into a single, unstoppable economic force. Section 5. Naval Power and Trade Defense. Here's the thing. When you have ships crossing oceans laden with precious stones, ivory, and gold, well, you're going to attract enemies. As the source material points out, traditional history often claims that ancient India lacked a blue water naval tradition, but that is entirely incorrect. We have to frame the Chalukya Navy not just as a military force of conquest, but as a dedicated asset defense team. Their primary job? Protecting global corporate interests and making absolutely sure the trade routes remained open and secure from pirates and rival empires. Let's look at a prime example of this geopolitical defense in action, because it's fascinating. Around 620 AD, a colony of Indian merchants known as Ard-e-Hind, located in the Alfa Peninsula in modern-day Iraq, came under threat. So how did they respond? Well, around 630 AD, the Chalukyan emperor Pulakesin II launched a massive naval strike directly on the Alfa Peninsula. The Chalukyan Navy essentially staged an international military rescue mission to protect their merchants. The Arabic historical sources reveal that by 634 AD, fearing further strikes from this terrifying Indian navy, local Arab forces literally retreated 80 kilometers inland to build a high-walled city for protection. That city is modern-day Basra. I mean, this proves without a doubt that the Chalukyan Navy existed specifically to project power and protect their economic assets abroad. Section 6. Legacy of the Chalukyas. This incredible fusion of military might and economic strategy brings us to their legacy. And the absolutely crucial point to take away is this. The Chalukyas were masters of global commerce. Their decentralized governance, their standardized economy, their backing of mega-guilds like the 500 of Ayavole, and their total willingness to deploy military naval power to protect their supply chains, all of this created a true golden age of regional prosperity. They built an economic engine that literally shaped the medieval world. I want to leave you with this final thought. When we look at the complex logistics, the corporate codes of conduct, and the asset defense strategies we've discussed in this explainer, it's clear that ancient history wasn't just about kings fighting over patches of dirt. It was about controlling the market. So if ancient kingdoms functioned this much like modern multinational corporations, how does that change the way you view the past? It certainly makes you wonder what other ancient business empires are just waiting out there to be uncovered. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep questioning the history you've been taught.